Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm doing great, man. First preseason game is in the books. The first practice of the Miami Dolphins versus the Falcons is in the books, man. It's time to toss some football, man. It's back.
Hey man, you know what, JR? I couldn't agree more because I would say this. Last Friday, some players looked really good. But man, some players look really bad as well. So, the thing about this week, joint practices, today's Wednesday, guys are kind of getting ready to, again, hit other guys, run past other guys. It's a good chance for us to move on because AJ McCarron is really happy that we're at joint practices because he doesn't want to think about the preseason.
No, he definitely don't want to think about that preseason game. Holy Pete, he looked rough. He looked so rough that it broke out on Twitter today that we were trying to think about bringing in Josh Rosen. So if that lets you know where we were at with our back, which is obviously we're gonna get into all that. But I'll say it like this: I was there. Friday night at the game. Love being in Mercedes-Benz, whether it's for the open practices or it's for a game, whichever. Love being in those. I think Mike might have froze a little bit. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But watching AJ McCarron live, I don't know if it was the offensive line not giving him a chance to breathe that was making him look so bad, or just bad play altogether. Toby, what was your initial assessment of, I guess we'll just start at the backup position.
I mean, like we talked about before we got on the show, I think it was a little bit of both. You saw some bad play from the O-line, and you also saw some bad play from AJ McCarron throwing balls in the dirt. So it just was a mixed bag,
yeah,
to say the least.
That it was. It was definitely a mixed bag on the performance on Friday night. Obviously, we've had a handful of days to talk about it, so I don't necessarily want to harp on the full on bad, but
right.
They definitely have to get this O-line figured out. Me and you both, you more so than me, spent most of the offseason essentially trying to defend Josh Andrews.
Right.
And, trying to be hey, look, folks, give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see him play first before we make, any kind of snap judgments. But buddy, his first showing was not a good one. Flat out. I can't make any bones about it. His first showing was he was getting shown up by Rashad Weaver, out of Pitt. He was a mid-round pick, I think, for the Titans, and he was getting bull rushed by him. And it almost didn't matter who they were sending at him. He was having trouble in doing anything but run blocking. Blocking, he looked okay at, but he just for the one offensive lineman that is presumed to be fighting for a starting job, his showing Friday night against the Titans, he really needs to pick it up.
Yeah.
And today, he left practice with cramps apparently, which nothing major, but still that's time you're missing.
Right.
And it's crucial time that you're missing to show the coaches that you should be the choice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What, you got anything to add there?
I mean, I'm not going to give up on him just yet.
Yeah.
I think with me, I think it was part of the talent level around him too.
That definitely didn't help.
I think it'll be interesting to see what the coaching staff really thinking. And I think too, he got lax because once he probably got fed into the tea leaves about him possibly winning the job, no real competition there. And I think that's contributed too in his play Friday because nobody breathing down your neck, you kind of relax yourself. So right. I think the coaching staff realized that and had to get somebody else back up over there.
Yeah.
Jalen Mayfield to kind of shake him up a little bit. Like, dude, you need to come on with it. You can't get relaxed and listening to the outside people talking about, well, you pretty much don't want a left guard job. You got to come on with it, man. So I think that's going to help him get back to something that they saw before, we got to the first preseason game, at least in my mind. But I don't know if Jalen's going to be ready yet.
It's going to be interesting to see how that develops. Like how that continues to develop, because when Caleb McGarry went down or whatever transpired from OTAs to the start of camp, whatever transpired there, if they really wanted Jalen Mayfield to be in that position of left guard, he lost valuable time there when they said, okay, well, let's see if he can play right tackle. Let's see if he can be an answer to, right tackle because of, and I guess this leads, to the first real point, was this a rookie mistake in a sense by the coaching staff? Should they have been bringing in, other competition? Should they have played the starters? I mean, because you got a guy it's been brought up quite a bit. You got a guy like Matt Hennessy who only has 2 or 3 starts under his belt. Right. Should he be entrenched as the starter at center? That was a question I saw come up a lot on Twitter, especially after this game. When you, because going into this offseason, there were only 2 offensive linemen that was pretty much given a lock. And that was Jake Matthews and that was Chris Lindstrom.
Right.
That was the only 2 offensive linemen that were given a lock. So then you come into, Friday's game and Caleb McGarry wasn't playing. That one made a little bit of sense because he just had, come off the physically unable to perform list.
Exactly.
So you want to give him a little bit of time before you throw him in the fire. But, what was I going to say? Hennessy didn't play either. So,
yeah.
Hold on, I'm going to try to get Mike back in. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Go ahead and you talk about something.
Well, I'll say this much. As far as the team goes, they didn't really do.
Good Lord.
Everybody go.
Man, we having all kind of issues tonight.
Yeah, it's one of them nights tonight. We like the Falcons. Oh, right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you had them froze up.
All right, give me 1 second. I don't know if you can hear me. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I can hear you. You just froze up.
Try it now. Okay, now, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. I don't know, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, we apologize, y'all. I guess tonight is one of those nights, man. We kind of having one of those moments, but as far as the team go, man, Arthur Smith has already told us that he's not going to be a traditional coach. They're gonna keep the ear to the ground and see what other teams are doing. If teams are not playing their ones, there's no use in me putting my ones.
I'm not trying to have some,
you know what I'm saying?
Some 4-string guy gunning at my starter trying to make a name for himself. like, I don't know how often that happens, but that's what you hear get brought up quite a bit when you're talking about not wanting to play your ones.
Right. And then, you got the pressure of you come off a 4-12 season and you don't want to lose any of your valuable starters during a meaningless preseason game as far as wins and losses go, that is. So that may be in the back of his head too. Like, you want to be able to get into week 1 with as many of his starters as you can get in with, or at least to really see where the team is at and see if they can string together some wins, man, because, there is pressure, especially when you come out and say that you're not in the rebuild mode. You got some words you got to back up.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. If you're trying to say that, you're going to compete and, you're going to do all this and, that you're not in rebuild mode and all this jazz, then, you have to show that. Like, you have to be, like, you want to go into the season as healthy as you can. I mean, you also got to keep in mind that last season in Tennessee, how many offensive linemen did he lose? Like, Arthur Smith was down, like,
oh yeah, they were losing.
Like, he had to rebuild his O-line about 3 or 4 times. So maybe, that's something that he wants to take a deeper look at the backups to see, where he's at there. And where that, like, does he need to be, more focused on, like strengthening his depth? I mean, how many times over the past years have we had a guy go down and the next guy that came in, like, didn't know what he was doing and pretty much couldn't play? So if Arthur Smith feels like, he needs to give these guys, these backups, more time playing, and if he feels like he's seeing what he wants to see, in, at practice, from the offensive lineman, from what he considers to be his starting offensive lineman, then at this junction, I feel like we need to trust him. He's not giving us any reason not to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm all for trusting a regime until they give me a reason not to trust them. That was the same thing with Quinn, same thing with Smith, all those guys. But what I saw on Friday night, like, Willie Beavers, the epic tale of Willie Beavers, he can be my backup swing tackle. I need Caleb McGarry to go ahead and get back up to speed and reclaim that right tackle position.
And see, that's the whole thing. Who say he already don't have the right tackle position locked down? I mean, he hasn't played true enough. You know what I'm saying? But he may be their guy all along. They just trying to see what else they got and give him that time to really regroup himself. So week 1, he goes in at the right tackle starter. Now, me, myself, just like everybody want to see competition at the left guard spot with Josh Andrews, I need to see more out of Caleb McGarry. Now, if D-Led, Dwayne Ledford, that is, can get what he needs to get out of him and they feeling good and they don't want to totally rush him back because they do plan on starting him week 1, then I can understand why they're not going to be wasting too much time with preseason games and just seeing what they got in practice. I mean, you heard that this is supposed to be a big week for Caleb McGarry because of the 2 joint practices. So we'll see. I didn't hear anything, which ain't a bad thing.
I mean, for the most part,
so
with offensive linemen, what you want is to not hear their names being called. And, the only thing is, like, their unofficial depth chart came out and, Caleb McGarry was still listed as the number 2 left tackle or right tackle. So I would like to see, I know it's arbitrary, but I'd like to see that name be moved up, to the, the starters. But, it'll be interesting, like, especially with guys like Nick Eaton still out there on the market. Steven Wisniewski or whatever that guy's name, he's still out on the free agent market. So I guess, depending on how this preseason game goes, they may end up having to pull the trigger on one of them. But
and I mean, and that's the thing. But if they liking what they're seeing in practice, that we don't get to see because we haven't seen the guys play yet in a preseason game, then it's so hard to tell. But I can tell you one thing that we seem to be telling, defense is doing well.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Even though it's
right, that's what I was just fixing to transition into. Was talking about the defense. We spent a good bit of time talking about, the bad in a sense from the preseason game. The backup quarterbacks looked atrocious. The offensive line really needs to get their stuff together. The running backs, like Caleb Huntley, had some good runs. Javian Hawkins looked okay coming out of the backfield a little bit. But I'll be interested to see more of them. Like Huntley looks better than I thought he was going to. So I'll be interested to see if we get to see some of Patterson and Olesen this week against Miami, because that would be. I'm still interested to see how they look in live action. But transitioning over to that defense now. I'll tell you this: if that's Dean Pease' vanilla defense that we saw on Friday, dude, I think we're in for some at least fun, if nothing else. I mean, you talk about in a preseason game dialing up double A gaps blitzes. Dude, that was a thing of beauty. You had Jonathan Bullard get a sack. You had Ogundeji and Michael Walker meeting at the QB. You had who else got a sack? Crap. I know it was Ogundeji. Jalen Hawkins on that safety blitz, which is I loved seeing that. That's something that I think that he can be well utilized at, and I think that we have found a true gem in Ogundeji later rounds. He seems like such a Dean Pease rusher. Yeah, like big, long arms, tough against the run. He was playing against the run real well. Same thing with JTM. Like he was rushing well and playing the run well. All in all, like the defense had me smiling. Like you had. Yeah. Go ahead.
And see.
No, I was gonna say you had 2 3 and outs that both ended in sacks. Like the sacks to 4. Like I can't remember the last time I've seen back-to-back 3 and outs that were forced by sacks. So that was encouraging to see for a deprived, like a defensively deprived Falcons fan.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what I loved about it, and I'm starting to see Dean Pease coming with that confidence. Yeah, you might see us doing, A-gap blitzes, but guess what? We might do it in the season.
That's it.
You got to stop it. And I think that sent a message that, I'm not going to be conservative. I know most coaches don't want to show everything, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, special teams, they don't want to show much. You know what? I'm not being conservative. I'm going to show y'all because I'm trying to make a statement here. Yeah, you might see it. You're going to catch it on film, but the question going to be is, can you stop it?
I think what you really got to see from Dean Pease on Friday was the I think Mike's back in.
There you go.
My goodness, man, I missed.
That's all right.
Party,
it's all
man.
good,
I'm
Mike.
Sorry.
Oh man,
we'll get you back in,
man. Hey, man. Come on down. We Falcons fans. We know how to go through this and get through it.
Look, if there's one fan base that can deal with adversity, it is this fan base. Okay? So I'm going to put you there in the middle. All right, anyway.
I'm back, man.
Okay, anyway. So now that we got Mike back in here with us, we're talking about the defense, Mike. We're talking about we haven't gotten to your boy yet, so I'm glad you're back in. But right now we're talking about, Dean Pease, and it seems like Dean Pease is like, I'm going to be aggressive. I don't care what we're in. Like that's my mode is aggression, is to be aggressive. Like we are not, sitting back in a cover 3 or cover 1 shell, and it's not a read and react in a situation. It's like, we're coming at you. And this is the way I coach.
Yeah.
Like you even heard on the broadcast, right before that double A gap blitz, you heard Steve Weiss say, "Oh, it looks like they're fixing to blitz that's a staple of a DMP's defense, and boom, here it came, and boom, it worked. You know, and for all the people out there who, you know, talking about, this is the same kind of stuff that Raheem was running. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. Like Ulbrich and Raheem were doing things a lot different than Quinn was doing, and you saw the defense getting better, right? But this is a situation where they're both using like the same ingredients, but you got a different chef, okay? Like you walk into a McDonald's and you get a burger, okay? It's a burger, right? It tastes like a burger. It's a burger. But you then walk into, you know, some high-end joint and you get some like truffle burger or something like that. It tastes completely different. Still a burger, different chef, different results is what I'm getting at. And that's what I feel like we got here. Like when we ain't even gotten into, we're going to have to jump off into chat here in just a minute, but we ain't even gotten into talking about, you know, Marlon Davidson in the game he had.
Yeah.
But Mike, since you back in, I want you talking about your boy Etheridge, who was all over the daggone place.
Hey, listen, when you talk about
Dude.
a tackling machine, right? I think Dorian Etheridge was probably one of our biggest steals in the undrafted free agent class, and I think that if my memory, you know, serves me correctly, we had probably one of the best undrafted free agent drafts of all the other teams, right? I think him and another guy I'll lump in with him, Errol Thompson.
Enroll or Errol, what is his name? Okay.
Errol Thompson. So the thing I like about him is I think practice doesn't do a guy like that any favors. You know, he can't really thump the way he likes to play because he likes to play the game old school, right? Because the way he ran and hit the quarterback square, I mean, that was just a thing of beauty because what we haven't really seen the last couple of years is linebacker blitzes up the middle, you know, and actually connecting with the quarterback. I think to your point, back to your chef comment, I think we got a lot of almost sacks. Like we were getting there, but we were not getting to the quarterback. I think with some of the free lanes that these guys are going to have, I really, really think that that's going to make the difference and really push us to the top. Because even Tua, it's been rare that a quarterback has said, like, wow, I went against the Falcons defense today. Yeah. They were something to see. That quote right there is something that, again, we hadn't heard anything like that, at least in the past.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that right there, years. That quote from Tua, regardless if it was just, you know, I'm going to try to be nice to my brethren, so to speak, whatever. Like, he didn't have to state it the way he did. You know, talking about, like, oh, man, they were disguising stuff out there, man, it was tough. Like, he didn't have, like, he's under a microscope. He didn't have to state it like that. You know, so, yeah, you're right. It is definitely, like, good, you know, good to see. All right.
Yeah, and everything in the NFL is earned, though. Like, I think for players to compliment other players, you got to earn it. Because players' job, usually, they're trash-talking the player. They're looking for a competitive edge. But I think to pay homage, that you don't really see that. You don't see that a lot, though. So
last year or the year before where we had, it seemed like every press conference, somebody was like, oh, yeah, they did and was listing off exactly what we were doing. So, so we knew we could go here, there, and everywhere. You know, so, I mean, exactly. Right. All right. Well, that's our opening salvo. Thank y'all for dealing with our technical difficulties as we tend to have them. You think by now we'd have this stuff locked down, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, so let's jump off into chat. Chris Jameson and Joseph Thornton both said, "What's up? What's going on, guys?" Same thing with Woon Carter. Glad you're here. Fred Butt says the defense was balling. Yes, sir, it was. We're gonna keep talking about that for sure. Ian Miles says, "What's up, family?" Same thing with Joshua Malavy. Woon Carter follows it up with shout out to all of us, and thank you, Woon, for being here. Genuine Music says, "What's up, fellas? Rise up. What's going on?" Same thing with Tim D. Jimmy Wright is in the chat room. Don't know why he's not in here with us, but he may be in the middle of something. That's fine. Either way, he says, shout out to Woon Carter. Glad to see you here. Ghost Pepper is in here. What's going on, Ghost? I haven't seen you in a while. He says, the blitz looked nice in the first preseason game. very disguised and exotic. The double-A gap blitzing is a P staple. Coaching and schemes that suit your players make a huge difference. That's right. And that's what, every interview I've ever listened to of P's, one of the things he says quite a bit is like, I'm not going to ask a man corner to play primarily zone. So if he said, if I got a man corner, I'm going to ask him to play man. So he's right there telling you that he's trying to put his guys in the best position to succeed. And you were seeing it a good bit, Friday night. Dan the Man says, P for P, glad to hear and see y'all. Well, we're glad you're here.
Dan the Man, appreciate you. You made it through
That's
our
right. That's right.
technical difficulties.
D. Sloan says, that's right. Arthur Smith did the right thing about playing the backups. That way we can see who can impact and help our starters and what type of team we have. I'm going to get into a theory I have here in a minute, but yeah, I agree. I feel like he did the right thing. I don't think one series or two series, the equivalent of 8 snaps, 10 snaps, is going to show you much anything out of the starters, Motivated Dedicated said, we need to bring in 2 more veteran offensive linemen. I say this, like, I come out of that game thinking to myself, that's where we need help right now. Like, I don't know if like signing somebody's the answer or what, but yeah, we definitely need some help there. Ghost Pepper follows that up and says, would love a Levitri style trade before camp ends. Honestly, I have no confidence in those left guard candidates. They're going to have to show me something this coming game. If we come out against Miami still looking like a turnstile, you're going to see me like pounding the table for you need to bring in somebody else. Go ahead.
Well, but I do think Jalen may guard this week, kind of where we probably felt a little bit more comfortable with him. And early reports are he looks a little bit more, right? I really want to see what he does, what he's really in line to do this week at left guard. If he's able to take a step forward at left guard, maybe give some kind of stabilization, it wouldn't hurt, because Josh Andrews cramping up, giving other guys a chance to, show who wants to go to that spot. Dahlman, this is one of those weeks where I think, like I said, if this will be the week where after this game, we'll know whether to panic or not. Right now, it's not time to panic. They look better. That was part of the offensive explosion for lack of better words.
See, here's the thing, and I'll say this again. I don't think that Jalen, to me, and I could be smoking rocks or whatever you call it. You want to say what you want to say. I think we're looking too hard at Josh Andrews, and some of us are already taking him out of the equation. Yes, it's good to have competition there, but you got to understand sometimes the talent level that you have around you
has
a huge effect too, because sometimes it causes you to overcompensate for someone else that might not be doing their job as well. Now, that's all Josh Andrews, because Josh had him blocked pretty good. All he had to do was let him go, because A.J. McCarron at this point is pretty much out of the pocket, and he's going in the other direction, and just let him do what he's going to do. And it was a nice play to Taji Sharp, and then it got called back because of the hold on Josh Andrews. Those are things he cannot do, and the whole team can't do. There was a lot of holding calls that were, to me, unnecessary. That do have to be rectified before you get into the season. But I'm not ready to give up on Josh yet. Now I think Josh is still gonna probably be the starter tomorrow if the cramps can get died down, because he wasn't the only one cramping. There was some other guys on our team that was
like Florida. Florida humidity is way different than Georgia's humidity, for sure.
Yeah.
That's no BS. It's a far different. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question to Toby, really. So, any of the backups, do you have any comfort in any of the backups? I mean, what are your thoughts on, because I know, like I said, Andrews, if he does take it, good. But, what are your thoughts kind of on Dahlman, Mayfield? I don't know. Do you see any hope out of those guys, or are you saying, if Josh Andrews doesn't perform, do we go free agent?
You may not have a choice. Dahlman was getting bullied too. And when Jalen Mayfield was over the right tackle, he was getting bullied. I mean, everybody, Willie Beavers was getting bullied.
That
I mean, they were all getting bullied. And that was by design with Tennessee. You got to give it to them. They wanted to see what all they could do. They came out with their stunts and blitzes. And they stuck it to it.
No doubt. It's it's a thought process that I have. Like, I was on a one of those like the space chats on Twitter the other night, and we were talking about it, and I proposed the idea that I wonder, with it being Tennessee, and with Arthur Smith having the familiarity that he has with Tennessee, like, was there a phone call made, in a sense, to Vrabel, saying, "Hey, look, what are you wanting to see out of your guys? What are you trying to see? Let me tell you what I'm trying to see, and let's see if we can create that situation unbeknownst to the players, so that we can get, real, like, intelligence, like real intel." You know what I'm saying? If it was a deal where, like, say, because of what happened in Tennessee last year, how many O-linemen went down. If it was a deal where Smith said, I need to know what these O-linemen can do. Like, I'm going to play all backup O-linemen. You play all, like, backup D-linemen, so we ain't getting nobody killed. And let me really see what we can do, kind of thing. And it could be a deal where, he said, hey, look, bring them heavy kind of thing. And I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me with that type of relationship that he has to have with that coaching staff.
Right. And that is a strong possibility. And I thought that same thing as well, because those calls do happen from time to time, especially coaches who know each other very well. And
especially in a game that doesn't count. Like, and you're trying to evaluate in an era where you don't have two-a-days. You can't really hit, not really, in camp anymore. Like, this is one of the few times that you have to fully evaluate, like, at full speed. You know? So, all right, I want to jump back into chat again, and let's see. Motivated Dedicated says P's equals grits blitz. We'll see. We'll see if he's going to reincarnate that grits blitz.
Hey.
Dexter Vallis says, that defense should be real stout. It was definitely the MVP of the game. Even though you gave up 23 points, like, you didn't start giving up points until you got into the, like, deep reserves. Guys who ain't even going to be on the roster. Like, I don't worry about when those guys give up points. Because, like, once you get into the third and fourth quarter of a preseason game, these are guys who are fighting to be on the practice squad, So if they give up points, it's whatever to me.
And to that point, the guys that I think that are going to be on the roster, I think those are the guys that up. I think we saw the name Michael Walker. We saw AG. We saw I would say to a lesser extent, we saw Richie Grant could do to a little bit. Now, he got beat a little bit, but he
recovered. He recovered nicely. He got beat a little early on, but he recovered well. The undrafted corner who's become kind of a fan favorite, Chris Williamson. He put together a good game. Yes, he gave up a touchdown, but that was a perfect throw. There really ain't much you could do about that. Like he was in position.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, Let's see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, I don't know if y'all noticed it or not, but they was playing quite a bit of big nickel out there at the beginning of the game with Richie Grant, Dwayne Johnson Jr., and Jalen Hawkins out there on the field at the same time.
I feel like Dean Pease feels like he has more at safety than he does at corner. With Eric Harris and Deron Harmon and Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins. And so you might see more of that big nickel deployed versus especially with a guy like Jalen Hawkins playing that money backer role type deal, which is something I think he can excel at. All right, let's see. Tony Wright says, what's happening pound for pound family? What's going on, Tony? Glad you're here.
Tony?
He said defensive end, defensive tackle Marlon Davidson is out for Saturday's game with a minor ankle injury. John Kaminsky is out for concussion protocol, which I hated to hear that about Kaminsky. He's one of those guys who I'm really rooting for, so I hated to hear that. But this opens up yet an opportunity for, guys like Taquan Graham, and they re-signed Eli Anoku. Y'all know how well I am with names, but they re-signed him, so he might get a chance to show if he's worth a roster spot. I think Marlon Davidson, if they shut him down until the season, I'd be fine with that because he was a monster.
Yeah,
he was an absolute monster on Friday night. So I don't need to see any more out of Marlon. I'm very excited about Marlon. Tazman TV, what's going on, Taz? He says, "Sup, JR, Toby, and Mike." That's right, exactly. We are graced by Tazman's presence.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with Reggie 2K. I'm glad y'all are here, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Isaac Crime says, "Enroll Thompson hits like a bull. That delayed blitz was straight nasty." Yes. Yeah. He was a guy who, like him and Dorian Etheridge were those were two guys who I was like, okay, all right, fine. We got some strength and depth at linebacker.
Yeah.
I just get the role for them. I just, like I said, to see the intent that these guys have, right? Like the Errol Thompsons, we haven't seen. I hadn't seen a linebacker that got some thump like that as an undrafted free. I just see a role for these guys at minimum special teams.
Look,
but
long gone are the days of Jopolo Bartu and Paul Warlow starting in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Linebacker with Dion and Foye and Michael Walker and Enroll Thompson and Dorian Etheridge. I mean, we are deep at linebacker, yo.
And
Copeland
as well.
Yeah.
Last year too. I think Copeland is a little bit better against the run than people expect as well too. Though I think, Copeland is a decent pickup. He's solid. He hadn't really done anything.
He's
for sure.
He's definitely solid.
I mean,
I was gonna say he's definitely solid, but I've been throwing Copeland in the pass rusher outside linebacker role.
And they rushed him today in Miami.
Exactly.
On the practice. Yeah, he got pressure.
He has the versatility as well. Both. So that versatility is key. I think it made up for the Bart Mingo situation. I think that Copeland will, there's a role. Like I don't really see us having to crave over a pass rusher like we've been.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there.
I'll say that we can feel a little bit more comfortable about the pass rush. Corner, maybe.
Yeah. And think about this, y'all. Two things that we have not really seen. Now, edge rushers setting the edge in the run game.
God.
Okay, that's been a long time. And something we haven't seen under Dan Quinn, which I think Deion Jones is about to eat for TFLs a lot. We were meeting running backs in the hole and actually getting in the backfield. We weren't waiting on them to come to us. We were coming to them. I mean, so many times Etheridge was meeting running backs in the hole and knocking them back instead of them knocking him back. I mean, real tackles. I'm not talking about, how you'll tackle somebody, they'll still knock you over a little bit, but you'll still make the tackle. No, Etheridge was he was beating you in the hole, dog. And I love him.
Go back to Etheridge a little bit. Let me tell you something I like about Etheridge. Like I said, him being a starter at Louisville, you wonder why does a guy like that slip, right? And I think, I read up on this guy a little bit because I just was intrigued by him. When a guy comes with 13 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, you need to read up on the guy. You need to see, how is this guy even an undrafted free agent? And I think there was some quotation mark character concerns because I think he got kicked out of the bowl game, ejected or something like that. And some guys don't interview well. Some guys are just football players. Some guys are there, you just put them some shoulder pads on, give them a scheme to be able to implement, and they're going to go out there and play for you. And I think that's why if it really came, and it's tough. Think about it now. You're Dean Pease. Who do you pick? Do you pick an Etheridge or do you pick, an Errol Thompson? Because I do think both have value in different ways. Etheridge is 6'3", probably 240 himself. He's one of the bigger linebackers as well that we got too, though. So you think about Deion Jones, they're smaller backers. Like I said, I like it's really going to be interesting. Again, the 5th linebacker spot is going to be an interesting battle to watch. That's why I think this defense is due for, I would say top 15 season. I'm not going to go where in the, but I would say with Dean Keys, and like I said, going back to JR's great chef recipe that Dean Keys has been cooking up, I'm going to tell you something. Really, watch this defense, and we'll make a ball. It won't take long against the Eagles for us to see, a couple of the sacks coming. I would say in the first half. I predict maybe 2 or 3 sacks in the first half. That's something I feel.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's something that they can keep rolling, right? If we see that same aggression against Miami, then we see it against again against Cleveland. I definitely think it's something that, like I said, I definitely feel like it's something we haven't had necessarily.
Right.
In the past, a more, and like I said, this is like not scheming at all. Like this is not like there's no game plan. This is like, all right, this is what we're going to try to do. This is what I think we need to do. You're watching Dean Pease like call a game basically off the top of his head. So if this is what he was able to do off the top of his head with backups, what is he going to be able to do with planning and his starters, right? Because that's how many times last few years have we come in and said, man, it really feels like they just didn't have a plan. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to say that anymore.
I can't agree more, because I think Dean Pease didn't just come up with that out of his head. When he was in retirement, that game plan was already mentally prepared a year ago. So I think he's got 50 or 60 of these game plans, because a guy like that, if he's retired playing golf, he's still thinking about blitzes. Yeah. It just doesn't. I mean, I think what he's doing is he's living out everything that he said he was going to do when he was retired. And again, you're right. And he's up for it. Like I said, when we went to the stadium, who was one of the first guys we saw walking around?
He was out there doing it.
Yep.
Getting it in,
Let's get back into chat here. This is Dave says it's time for the Falcons to change their identity anyway. That's right. I would love for them to turn into like the birds of prey instead of the birds of finesse. Tasman follows it up and says, I'm liking Ogundeji. He's very versatile, crafty, and the student of the game. I like what he brings. Like something you said earlier, Mike. He's one of those guys that Dean Pease is going to get paid, whether it's by us or whether it's by another team. Like, he's one of those guys that I feel like is almost showing up to be like handcrafted for this scheme. Tony Wright says, question for Toby D. I believe that our second, 5th round draft pick, Ogundeji, will be considered a steal once he gets more seasoning. Do you agree or disagree? Plus, your analysis. So he's segued in. He's wanting your opinion on Ogundeji.
Grady Jarrett Jr. I actually think, though, he will get a shot to grow a lot faster than Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett, his first year was coming on at the end of that season, and then he carried it over into the next season, 2016. But I think Ogundeji is going to get a chance to really develop even faster than what Grady Jarrett did coming out in 2015. So you might get you another 5th round steal there with having someone like Ogundeji. So I agree wholeheartedly, Tony. I do agree. And we're already seeing the effects of this guy already. Practice, he's looking good. In the games, he's looking good. And I heard he
is definitely commanding more playing time, which is what you want to see. Like, it is definitely like, it definitely seems like this is a coaching staff, at least on the outset, that isn't one that wants to rush rookies in. Especially on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe that's a Dean Pease thing. Maybe Dean Pease leans more towards experience than talent, so to speak. But, like, Ogundeji is not letting them leave him back there. And which is good. That is what you want, You want that to that's what you want out of your rookies. You want them to force their way up the depth chart. You want it to be to where you can't ignore that guy. And that's the way I really feel that it's coming along with Ogundeji. Let's see. The Real says getting 10-plus sacks from Dante Fowler would feel like such a bonus. Yeah, this whole time we ain't even brought up Fowler, who, by all reports,
wow,
is looking the part of a first-round, pass rusher. Like when he finally got back on the field from the COVID stuff and whatever else was keeping him off the field, like I think it was Michael Rosenstein of ESPN said you could immediately see the difference, and like that stood out to me. That jumped out at me, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Whoever was asking that man about his brother, and like at practice, I understand you think you're doing your job, but that's a question that don't need to be asked. Like he ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
He ain't going to say anything about his brother in a murder case. So why are you even asking? That doesn't pertain to football. And all it does is lead for awkward silence and awkward looks.
Right now.
I get it that he's a public figure in a sense. And I get it that answering questions is part of his job. But you as a professional also could have some tact. You know? So that was that rubbed me the wrong way when I was reading that stuff.
You know what? I gotta look. You know what? My boy Jimbo Slice is not here to defend himself, but you know what? Jimbo Slice, this for you. I've been I literally have taken my scissors and I've cut Dante Fowler off of the milk carton. He's in our hand right now. Now listen, if it translates over to the season, I won't put him back on the milk carton because. I will say this though. I think again we use this man's name at least 60 times a show. But again, I think Dean Pease connected with a Dante Fowler. I think is just it's a match made in heaven because Dean Pease, he puts pass rushers at a premium. And last time I checked, Dante Fowler for a myriad of reasons is pretty peed off. Man had to take a pay cut. He's didn't really come to the OTAs like that, right? Like. It's kind of rocky right now. He knows a lot of fans have written him off. At one point in time, and I could be wrong here, he was one of the top free agent signings at one point in time, right? So, again, if those little things that we write off bear fruit, again, that it's another reason I think to be cautiously optimistic about the pass rush.
Yeah, right. I agree there. So we're going to keep right on moving here. Let's see. Where was I at? All right, we're going to go with Falcons Empire. Says, you're right. He should get all plethora of defensive stats, just like Mike Hilton. Okay, yep. Sometimes you should pre-read stuff before you just go on and read it because that obviously was a statement pertaining to somebody else. Anyway, Nick Banglo says, just preseason, the Lions went 4-0 in preseason and 0-16 regular. That's true. I don't worry necessarily about wins and losses. There's no correlation there to me. Winning preseason to winning in regular season. I tend to look at how are you playing in the first half of the game before you get into the deep dregs of your roster. And in the first half of the game, you went into the half down 13-0. So defensively, you played a good half. Let's see. Somebody made a statement. I was trying to see who it was talking about. Oh, it was Dave. Says, I want to see the Falcons' run defense do better this week. Yeah, they gave up 138 yards rushing. So I'd like to see him, tighten that up.
I agree.
Yeah, that was, and let's see.
I'm going to say something about that in a minute.
Eric McDowell says, Arthur Smith is a smart coach. He's not showing anything. No, I mean, he definitely wasn't. You didn't see as much 12 personnel as I think you're going to see in the season. So there's a lot, there's a lot that he wasn't showing. And also, he came out and said, the offense didn't get into a rhythm. So that limited a lot of what he was, what they were going to do because, the offense couldn't get going. Tasman says, it's going to be a massacre with Dean Pease. Have the starters for week 1 of the regular season. I'm calling Oh, Lord. Tasman. He said he's calling 10 sacks in game 1. I don't know.
Yo, Tasman.
I like your optimism.
Let's
That's right.
Let's go.
In Texas, no, we don't have
Bobby Boucher. Listen at you. Ghost Pepper says, I remember when we ran out of linemen and had to put Toilolo at right tackle. Yeah, I remember that game against Vikings.
Right.
Up
Minnesota
there at the
Vikings,
University of Minnesota Stadium. But anyway, he says we don't have a talentless team. The way we lose some games last year with good coaching, we could get a wild card spot. We could, and that's something that we talked about. I think what this front office has done a good job of is filling this roster with solid players. They may not be like spectacular players, but it seems to be solid from top to bottom, which is interesting considering most years under Dimitrov, we were a very top-heavy team. Like, the starters were very talented, but if they went down, there wasn't much behind them. So it seems like we may have a little bit better depth than we have had. Or at least, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but at least the talent seems to be like not as top heavy as it was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. I think top to bottom, this team, I will say this though. This team there's good parity amongst the first 53, but I would say, man, like the players now that's like 70 through 85 is kind of real bad, right? I think that's what we got a bad taste of in the preseason. I think, once you take that part out, we can really start to get like a better picture of the team, right? Because the problem is this, guys like us, we get right back to being logical about what our team is going to do. But the overreactors, they cannot get over what they saw in the third and fourth quarter of the preseason game, right? So, but again, you got to remember, those are going to be guys that may not even get picked up by another team on the practice squad, right? So, looking at what we've got right now, I would agree. To be honest with you, I do like, go to Mariner with a Okendeji, with a, Stephen Means getting pressure. And, like, the guys that we've written off, right? We've written off Stephen Means, right? If Means can get to the quarterback, which he's shown, he's put out, he can get to the quarterback. Like I said, again, it goes back to, just putting these guys in position to make plays. And I think that's why I can't wait for the regular season. I can't wait, like the preseason, I think I've seen enough. But, we got to work out these other two games. Because it's really, like I said, to figure out how we round out this 53. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fred Butt says, do y'all think the starters need to play in preseason? I have never, if you're not going to play a full half, then me personally don't see much use in you going out there. Like, if the design is, okay, we're going to go down there and see if they can score a touchdown. And if they run a series, we're going to pull them out. Okay, that's fine, I guess. But anybody can have a bad series. To me, one series doesn't tell you much of anything. Like, if you want to play the starters in preseason, I want to see at least like a half with them playing. Because I wanted them to be able to get into a rhythm. Whether it's running backs or whether it's, defensive backs, whoever, doesn't matter. I want to be able to see them get into a flow. And if they can't get into a flow, then I'd much rather just leave them on the bench and we'll figure it out as far as, game one goes. Especially nowadays with a truncated preseason.
Right. Now, I'll say this much. There's a chance Matt Ryan don't play
It wouldn't
at all.
surprise me.
You got a 36-year-old. He's in good shape, true enough, but you got a 17-game season. So there's a chance Matt doesn't take any snaps in the preseason at all. And if that's the case, then all the guys that you see that are doing well and you plan on using in week one, you might as well not play them either. Because Matt Ryan's going to need all the weapons he can get going into week one, and he don't need to lose any.
You're watching, and I think that's one reason why maybe they decided to agree to this joint practice, because you're watching, Calvin Ridley just absolutely abuse Xavier Howard, and And you're watching that live, like in speed, you know. And so, you know, you're watching Kyle Pitts making his plays. Like, we ain't even talked about him.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, you know, oh, he needs to be playing in the preseason. And look, he's going to take his lumps. Again, there's no reason to be exposing this guy. Like, for all the hype and all the love that Justin Fields got, you know, in his, you know, play in Chicago, I read today that he's dealing with a groin issue now. Like, you don't need that from Kyle Pitts. Like, I need him as healthy as he can be. You know, with the 17-game season and everything else, I need him as healthy as he can be. William Avey says 13-4 in a wild card spot. I don't know about 13.
Well, y'all
they are. Everybody's look.
I like this.
I'll tell you this: the chat is feeling way better than I thought they were going to after the performance we had. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. Like I thought to myself, I was like, "Oh Lord, I'm gonna have to start talking people off cliffs, tell people to get back inside." But no, I got people over here saying 13-4, wild card spot, 10 sacks in one game. Y'all are fired up, and I love it. I love it. I'm absolutely loving it. They see Nick brought up Franks for QB2. I tell you this: if Matt Ryan goes down, we're screwed anyway, right? Okay,
right.
Like flat out. Like, if Matt Ryan goes down, you might as well go ahead and shoot for the number 1 overall pick, right? So with that being said, yeah, I'd rather have Franks than McCarron. At least Franks can make it fun with his like ability to get out of the pocket and stuff like that. At least he'd make it interesting to watch if Matt Ryan goes down. Because go ahead.
We got to talk about Felipe Franks a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people realize how mature he already started out with early on in preseason. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. The guy already don't figured out how to do a hard count. Okay? Got them off sides twice, 2 times in a row. Matter of fact, if you want to show the ref that somebody's getting outside, just slap. Because I was going to slap the guy twice, back to back. And the ref called it 4 times, neutral zone infraction, offside. But this guy already, you saw Matt Ryan's morale go way up when Franks got in the game, and you saw Arthur Smith's morale go up. And the guy made some nice, hard fire laser throws that the guys dropped. Receivers dropped them.
So, and then I'm going to tell you like this, JR. If Matt Ryan goes down, I would not say that we are completely 110% screwed.
Look, we're 115% screwed, Mike.
6'7", 200.
Look, I don't care if he's 6'8", 400 pounds.
Look, tell you about Felipe. One thing I like about Felipe is this: he went to Arkansas, a team that has probably won no more than 2-3 games, and made them bowl eligible. I won't bet against this guy. I've been betting against him as a Georgia Bulldogs fan for years, and every time you bet against Felipe Franks, he's going to prove you wrong. Felipe Franks is one of those guys that, again, you see him ever get in the game, it's like, oh, Felipe. And then the kid just keeps making plays, and he's doubted everywhere he goes. So, again, I don't bet against the underdog. And, again, dogs who could turn into maybe a decent player. Again, Felipe Franks, we'll see what he does this week, even though he looked like he regressed.
We'll see. We'll see.
But, again,
Jay Holland, our good buddy Jay Holland, tipped us $2 and says, "What's up, fellas? What's going on, Jay? Man, I'm glad you're here." He had a comment earlier that says, "What's up, fellas?" He's asked if he was late. It's all right. It's okay. This stuff plays on repeat. You can get it on archive. All you missed, Jay, was a bunch of football talk and some technical issues. Just our usual. You know what I'm saying? Oh yes, Woon Carter says, "Don't forget, Pound for Pound will be going live Saturday for the second preseason game against Miami."
Yes, sir.
That is true. That is true. As long as everything goes well, we will be giving you some live commentary during that game, kind of like what we did on draft night. Obviously, we can't stream you the game, but we're going to sit here and it'll be interesting because all the streams, like all of us watching, is going to be a little bit off, like timing wise. But we're going to do what we can to, just comment on the game, sit here and hang out, BS, while it's being played. Beetle, okay, let's see. Beetleborg says Felipe is a dog in my eyes. I'll tell you this: that 50+ yard run won over a lot of fans. My man didn't do much else.
Yeah.
I mean, he had like a 39 like quarterback rating or something like that, which is like the lowest you can have unless you throw interceptions. So he didn't do much, but that 50-yard run. Look, I tell you this: sitting in the stands when he took off, that place lit up like the 4th of July. I had a lady sitting in front of me and said, "He can stay. I like him. What's his name?"
Better than AJ McCarron. Look, because I saw nothing out of AJ McCarron. Listen, I saw Ghost years ago. He passed it to AJ McCarron last week because AJ McCarron was throwing the ball somewhere anywhere. I'm like, he missed a wide open Christian Blake. I knew when he missed one of the few times, because we didn't really get a lot of separation at the receiver position on Friday.
Right, we did not.
One of the few times we did, and I knew when he airmailed Christian Blake, I said, "Yep, AJ is gonna have a rough night." But at least he gave us something. So again, I won't write off old Felipe because that stiff arm he did was pretty nice. I'll be honest with you. That was fun.
I think I saw something on Twitter that made me laugh. Like, Felipe's a dual threat quarterback that isn't good at the first part, which is throwing. I was like, oh, come on.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. And you know what? He had some accurate throws if they'd have gotten caught. I mean, guys dropped balls, like I'm saying, like he was hitting them.
Oh, yeah.
He was hitting them, man. Hitting them between the numbers, and they were
dropping.
Well,
that's been one of the things about Franks is like a hard thrower didn't always have the touch. So, if it was like back in the day with Vic and early Cam, rocket worth of an arm, and it'd be in your chest before you knew it, kind of thing. So, James Montgomery tipped us $5. Thank you, James. He says, joining late, but I just want to say I liked what I saw from Franks, and the D looked better. Excited for next year. Yeah, no, we're definitely. I think this team is going to be. I don't know like how many games we're winning or nothing like that, but I definitely think that this team is going to be a lot more fun and a lot more competitive than what we have been used to the past few years. Falcons Empire says, what do you guys want to see the Falcons do for this preseason game against Miami? I want to see if they can get the offense going. I want to see if they can get the run game going. Okay? Whether it's a backup offensive line with Caleb Huntley, Olesen, whoever, that was supposed to be and is supposed to be one of Arthur Smith's calling cards is the run game. So, like, believe it or not, we actually rushed for 117 yards on Friday night.
Most of
Probably,
that was Felipe.
But I'm just saying. So what I want to see is I want to see a consistent in the run game. That's what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Mike, what are you looking for?
You know what? I'm looking for receivers to separate.
There you go, okay.
That's what what I just said. I saw very little separation from the receivers. That was concerning. And again, because I thought Tajay Sharp got a bad rap a little bit. He made a good play. When he caught the ball, didn't count due to kind of, just a self-inflicted penalty. But, again, I want to see – I saw Juwan Green in practice, 60 yards. That was cool. I think any highlight is a good highlight. But I want to see that translate in a game and see which one of these guys at the 4th and 5th receiver position won it. Somebody got to separate this week. So, this week is the receivers.
I got you, Toby.
I need to see the defense continue to transition to sacks. That's what I want to see. I don't want to make y'all throw up, but I remember in 2013 when Rob Ryan got over there, defensive coordinator with New Orleans Saints. That first preseason game, they were racking up sacks, and they kept doing it. And I knew right then and there that they would continue transitioning into that in the regular season, and they did. And I'm looking for the Falcons to do something similar to that, where they keep them sacks rolling and them pressures rolling, and it transitions starting week 1. I'm not talking about you don't roll the sacks and then all of a sudden preseason over getting to week 1 and nothing happens. I'm talking about you start off transitioning all the way into week 1 and just riding the horse all the way, riding the sack horse all the way into the end.
I like that. Tony Wright just asked me, he said, what are your thoughts on the 5th round pick Avery Williams out of Boise State as a cover corner? Yeah, exactly. I saw that and I was like, oh, good. Thank you for basically bringing that back up. He had 2 passes defended last weekend, and one of those plays, he turned his head around and did well. Williams also an excellent return man. So, before we get into that, Chris Jamison says, Tony, excellent questions tonight. Tony, yes, you have been bringing it with some really good questions tonight. I like what I saw out of Avery Williams. It was they went at him 2 plays in a row on Friday night, and he did well on both of those. Stayed with his guy, and for a smaller corner, he definitely wasn't playing small. And then you add in once he got back there in the return game, if Cordell Patterson proves to be a bigger weapon on offense, I have no problem with letting Avery Williams take over the return game all the way around, like kickoffs and punts, because he looked good doing it. So Toby, you that was a guy you had brought up like pre-show. So what do you want to say about him?
The 2 plays. The first time they threw the same pass at him, and that's what I loved about it. The first time he did turn his head around, but what was good was the guy didn't have enough real estate to catch it. The second time he caught on to that he didn't turn his head around and turned it around. When you got guys that take that mental note quickly and can adjust fast on the fly, those are the type of guys you drafted pretty good. And this guy has transitioned that over into the Miami Dolphins because today, guess what? He was making plays on the ball. And that's those are the type of players, man. When you get them type of players, just like Open Day, you getting them type of players, man. It's got that IQ, man. They make a mistake the first time, they catch it the second time and capitalize. And I love it. I love it. That's what I love about them 2 plays.
Yeah, and Avery Williams is one of those guys that got better and better and better as training camp. You noticed, in camp it was kind of quiet. Nothing written about this guy, and then you started seeing his name, and again and again, and now it's like a mainstay. So I think, I really do look forward to translate, which is why, kind of bad news a little bit for Chris Rowland. Heartfelt want Chris Rowland be that guy, but I think Avery Williams' versatility, those 2 plays on defense, it makes him a little bit sharper Swiss Army knife than Chris Rowland. But that, like I said, he's a guy, again, I just want to see him continue to get better.
And he's a guy because keep this in mind, a lot of the guys that you signed this offseason, you signed for 1-year deals. Fabian Moreau, 1-year deal. Kendall Sheffield, who can't seem to stay healthy. Like his time is running short. And the more that a guy like Avery Williams comes on, the more it makes those guys, expendable in a sense. And that's something that you got to keep in mind. If he can show flashes early as far as in the return game and definitely in the coverage, then he's the type of guy who can make it easier to walk away from somebody like a Fabian Moreau if he doesn't live up to what you think he's going to do, or if he does live up to it, and then all of a sudden wants a good chunk of money, kind of deal, because that's always part of it,
Yeah.
All right, well, gentlemen, we have pumped up over an hour, as we always do. Anything else anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about? Okay.
I think
so too. And I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about Saturday. I'm really excited about doing doing the commentary on the game this Saturday, because if that's something that goes well, that might be something we try to do during the season. A few games out of the year, something like that. Definitely ain't gonna say every game because I'm not always available every Sunday. Weekends are tend to be pretty busy for me. But, we might make it a point to do, a few games. Sure. But other than that, man, I appreciate y'all dealing with us tonight as far as the technical difficulties, that kind of stuff. We always have some fun there. Yep, Tony Wright talking about the Falcons are the only team that are 100% vaccinated in players. That's good. Good news. I like that off the field type news. Like always tends to be like odd for the Falcons. Like you don't want to be making headlines for the wrong reasons. In that aspect, they didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm down for that. I'm down for not making headlines for the wrong reasons. All right. Well, as always, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Mike D.
Follow me, Mike Dub, MIKE_DUB. Always love. Keep the follows coming. Y'all are amazing. Toby D.
Hey, man, Toby D, 1991.
Yep, and like I said, we'll be live on Saturday, and then we'll be back live the following Wednesday. May have some content coming out between here and there. Always keep an eye on the channel because you never know what we're going to drop. But as always, Falcons fans, rise up.